Hello, and welcome back to Dark Souls 3. So, last time, we went through Cathedral of the Deep, and we killed another boss, getting ourselves a soul and a little doll. And you may notice, at the end of last time we were embered, and this time we are not. There's a reason for that.
Oh, I would do any. Then shall there. You have attained ample strength. All will soon be clear, my good lord. As I have said, but be safe, our lord.
Yep. So, what happens is Yule will give you a free level. In exchange for that free level, you have to take on a dark sigil. And how that works is every time you die, this little thing called hollowing goes up. And how much hollowing you get is determined by your dark sigil. You have 1, you get 1 hollowing, 2, you get 2 hollowings, so on and so forth. And you need to get to at least 20 hollowing. And once you get to 20 hollowing, then you can get a total of 5 free levels. And yeah, I was jumping off the map to get that. And the negative consequences of that is that you look like beef jerky. But if you're willing to take the negative consequences of looking like beef jerky, then you can get 5 free levels and you can continue on Yule's quest. Oh, is he not doing it here? Huh. Well, alright then. I thought that... Never mind. Ignore me coming up here. We can just... This never happened. I was coming here to get that, the Twinkling Titanite, that very, very necessary. Are there any thrusting swords that require... What? Okay. Nope, 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 nope. Nope, 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 nope. You can die. Thank you very much. But... Like I said, you get 5 free levels and he gives you that unique dialogue of saying like, our lord. And we can sell this for 20k. We can sell the Uchi Katana. We can sell his armor set.
Right. Ashen one. Welcome. Very then take.
And can we get a level out of that? We can. Ooh, almost 2 levels.
Farewell, maid.
But sitting back down here, right, we'll have to do a hard reset of the area then, of like full on leaving and coming back. That's fine though. That's totally fine. Do we want to do the rest of Cleansing Chapel? This is probably not a good idea, but I'm going to do it anyways. Because I'm not known... Shush. Because I am not particularly well known for smart decisions. And so we can head through the rest of this area. And the reason this isn't a smart decision is because there's a lot of tough enemies up here, and it is very easy to die. And there's also not a lot of room to move, especially near the end. And you aren't attacking, but you can still die, because you dying gives us the deep ring. Not gonna use it, but get it just to get it. And then over here there's a great axe guy. A beautiful parry. We're gonna have to get another one of those off. And we missed, but we can get a backstab. And there's a New Game Plus ring in that location. I don't remember if it's New Game Plus 1 or 2. But I do know it's a Ring of Favor. Oh, beautiful parry. Like I said, I've gotten better at that. And can't parry those, like, push attacks. There's nothing down there, so we can ignore it. Looks like there's nothing over there either, so we can ignore it. Hopefully no thralls come up behind us and attack. Because that would not be good for our health or anything else. Goodbye. Now, as you can see, obviously there's not a lot of room here. So you have to be very careful. But not gonna say anything yet because I do not want to jinx this. And I buried too early. And I did not get that parry timing right. And I parried way too early. And I parried too early. There we go. Ooh. Still not 100% down on the parrying. But bless gem. And yeah, if you can parry, like once you learn to parry, this area should, in theory, become a lot easier. This is my first time going through knowing I can parry, so ooh. This is very scary, though. We got hit, but I'll take it. A partial victory is still a victory. But yeah, because like, you can't really shield an ultra greatsword. That's not really something you can reasonably do. And you want to take a drop down there. And I just wanted that guy to put his crossbow away. Hopefully he doesn't follow us down here. 'Cause that would not be good for our health. But... oh, he's here. Hello, Patches. So we can pull this up. Oh. He gets rid of all those at... normally there's a bunch of enemies up top. But it seems like Patches spawning here gets rid of them. That's neat.
Huh? Yes, hello. Oh, I don't believe we've met. I'm Patches. Unbreakable Patches. You seem to be unkindled. Do you have business with me? Ah, oh, yes, of course. It's coming back to me now. Oh, I'm so sorry. That was my hand, as you know. But the deed, well, that was the armor's doing. Regrettable, truly. But behold, I'm stripped clean of that unruly attire. And look at you. Not a scratch. All's well that ends well, right? Yes, we'll be fine. I can tell. It's that rotten curse. It is. The untidy mess.
Yep.
Oh, yes. Now, it wasn't me, but you still deserve an apology. Just a little trinket. Go ahead. It's yours now.
Yeah, so every game he betrays you, and if you call him out on it, he'll give you some little trinket. Like, just some little consumable item. So it's always good to call him out on it.
You should know, I'm a kind of travelling merchant. If you're as unkindled as you look, you'll find plenty of good stuff.
Alright, so... he sells a dagger, that'll be important. He sells a curved sword, that'll be important. He sells a spear, that'll be important. For their own respective runs, that is. He also sells the black leather set, which will be important for whenever I use that. But 3,500, okay, we can... there we go. Yeah, you need to buy the Katarina set to continue on Siegmeyer's quest.
Thanks, good comp.
I did not skip that line of dialogue. That skipped itself. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Dark Souls 3 does that sometimes, I've noticed. Like, Cirrus has a few lines like that as well. Ew. Well, Torch gets rid of all the ick. But let's just clear all these enemies out. Get ourselves some souls back, because dropping 15k is... that's over a level. Not a lot over a level, but it's over a level. Which can... like, you're gonna feel that this early on. But here, the set of thorns, if you were able to kill Kirk. And now we can head back to Cleansing Chapel. And the thing I did in the beginning where I said, oh, he's not here, forget about this. That's the other places patches can show up. Still not doing that. One of the thrusting swords is in the Painted World. So, may go get that, but not now.
anyone there? Anyone at all? Oh. I know that voice. Just how long has it been? It's me, Siegfried of Caterina. I'm loath to admit it, but I've been had. Someone's swiped my armor. Did you happen to see it anywhere? Oh, my armor. My deepest gratitude. I, Siegfried of Caterina, salute you. With my trusty suit of armor, I'll be out of here in a jiffy. Until we meet again, comrade. No need to worry about me. With my trusty suit of armor, I'll be out of here in a jiffy. Until we meet again, my good friend.
Alright, so you need to do that to continue Siegmeyer's quest, and also for Greyrat's quest, because they're intertwined a little bit. But now we can head off to Farron Keep. And this will be the main focus for this area, or this part. Yes, Farron Keep will be the main focus of Farron Keep. Yes, quite. But in the last part, I did a little something where I just kind of ignored certain things. Extinguish 3 flames and open the door to Wolf's Blood. But I just kind of ignored some side paths. And when... yeah, thrusting swords aren't very good in certain specific scenarios, like against certain enemies. And so I'm just not going to put myself in those situations, because I know how it ends. Estus Shard. And I think I'm going to do that again here. Where I go, I've used thrusting swords a little bit so far. I feel like I've got a decent foundation on like what they're good for, what they really struggle against. And so I'm just not going to put myself in situations that will be a massive detriment to me using them. That's a Dark Wraith. And this is a Sage Coal, which Crystal, Blessed, and Deep. So Crystal is for intelligence, Blessed is for faith, and gives you the passive health regeneration. And then I actually don't know what Deep is for. That's something that I've never used before. Yep. Now, I actually took that first swing with the plan of trying to parry them. But then I remembered, oh yeah, these guys are fast and aggressive, and they hit decently hard. And they have pretty good stance damage. And so it's like if they hit you once, they can usually hit you a second time. And that's not very good for my health. Generally speaking, taking a sword to the mouth is not good for the health. And generally speaking, taking a sword to the mouth twice, really not good for the health. And I went, well, parrying is kind of hard to do against those fast, aggressive enemies. And this thing has good range, and so I can just outrange it. And I did that, and it worked. And so I said it in, I think, part 1 or 2, possibly 3, of parrying in Dark Souls 3 is just hard, and it's not always worth it. Extinguish 3 flames and open the door to Wolf's Blood. It's not always useless, as I've shown with the Ultra Greatsword Knight up top, but it's not something you want to use against every enemy. And maybe it's more balanced in that sense, because in Dark Souls 1 you could use it against basically every enemy. Not every enemy, but the vast majority of them. And it was pretty easy to do. So maybe Dark Souls 3 is a bit more balanced in that sense. Of you can't just pull it out against any enemy. You know, it's only good for certain ones, but like I said, just not against all, but against some enemies, it's just too difficult for the reward. Maybe if parrying had a higher damage, or if the parry window was a bit more lenient against some enemies. Uh-oh. Ow. Not too bad, though. Not too bad. No, we're not gonna grab it. Now, I've heard some people say that Farron Keep is really bad because it's really hard to know where you're supposed to go. And I haven't pointed it out, but fire. It was the same thing with Bloodborne and the Forbidden Woods, like the second part of it. Of people saying that... Oh, that was fast. But people saying that it's too difficult to know where you're supposed to go, and that it's super easy to get lost. And as I pointed out in that as well, there's a ton of fires on the main path, and so all you have to do is go from fire to fire. Now, there is a bit of a complication in that method with this last fire, because the last fire isn't immediately or necessarily at all obvious. And you can go across that if you want. I tend to go another way, because this does not have very good damage, and against 3 enemies, it can be a bit oof. But heading back, you'll be able to see, you just follow fire to fire. Like, here there's a fire, here there's a fire, here there's a fire, here there's a fire, over here there's a fire, over here there's a fire, and then, or back here, this is the beginning. So you walk out there's this poison swamp. It can feel a bit overwhelming. But then over here you see a message. Extinguish 3 flames. So you immediately get this idea of, oh, fire. And then you just follow fire to fire to fire. And like I said, that only brings you, at least immediately, to 2. But if you come back here and you look around, you can see a fire over there. And so it doesn't connect with the other 2. This third one is separate, which is why I say it's not immediately obvious, or necessarily obvious at all. Especially since it can lead you over there if you don't go up, because up, immediately there's the fire. And so that's why I say there is a bit of an issue with this one. But in Bloodborne, you follow the fires, it will take you directly to the end. Just a straight path all the way to the end. And well, that's very nice. So, if you're ever playing these games and you find yourself in an open area where you aren't really sure where to go, and maybe you're a bit overwhelmed, just look for the light. Like Dark Souls, or Bloodborne with Forbidden Woods, Dark Souls 3 with Farron Keep, Elden Ring with the Consecrated Snowfield. Like, it works for all 3. And I mean, even going back to Dark Souls 1 with Darkroot Garden, the third part of it, not really the first or second parts because those are pretty straightforward, but the third part with Elvina and all of her forest hunters, it has lights as well, and so you can just follow the lights. Now here, if you're embered up, there's an invasion. And I threw myself off the cliff a bunch of times in order to get those free levels from Yul in order to continue his quest. And so not embered up to deal with that. But Golden Scroll, antiquated set, I never understood any of this because I didn't play Dark Souls 1, but now I have and I do understand it. So that's neat. Also, Swamp Vicar Amelia. Haven't acknowledged those yet, but they're there. But yeah, that was something else about Dark Souls 3 that I've heard a lot of people talk about, is all the fan servicey stuff, which I have kind of a different approach on that because I played Dark Souls 3 first, and so I straight up just don't have the same experience as other people. Because I saw the fan service first and then the original. But I don't think it's bad. Would I rather have gotten a completely original story? Yeah. But in there there's an undead bone shard, and up here is the bonfire past the 3 enemies that I didn't get before because I turned around. But I would rather have gotten completely original stuff. But I understand what Dark Souls 3 was doing with its story of endless cycles and how this has to end. And like, I don't think that's a bad thing. And now that I have played through Dark Souls 1 and get those references, I don't like scoff at it or roll my eyes, anything like that. Like, I don't hate seeing that stuff. I don't think fan service is inherently bad. Just, I think a big part of it is just how it's done. And I think other people have done it better, but I don't think Dark Souls 3 really did it poorly. And they're dead. That gets us the lingering Dragon Crest ring. So I'm not the biggest fan of Dark Souls 3's story or the fan service, but I'm not against it. Although I've never really been into these games for the story. I've always been more into them for the exploration and the gameplay and the combat and the fashion souls that I'm not doing right now. But you can die. Oh man. That is not how that works for the player. Like, you can hold shield up and just attack, but shielding, especially with that shield and attacking, nah. Like, the player character's guard would break way before that, and their guard didn't even break. I just got behind them and backstabbed them. Anyways, like, seeing these guys just lying around dead, that's one of the better ones, I think. Because it works well with this area from what we know about Ulasil, what we saw from it in the DLC of Dark Souls 1. And so that's the door from the cutscenes, by the way. But a big part of Ulasil in Dark Souls 1 was that it was being consumed and that it was stagnating. And here we're seeing that again. And so I think this area and the fan service here works pretty well. And die. Whereas, like, the giant blacksmith, I'm not as fond of. Mainly because it's like one specific individual. and they're giant, and I feel like they just would have died at some point, and I mean, obviously they died, but I feel like their body would have been destroyed or crushed. I don't know what I'm talking about. It just seems like their body would be too big to be left undisturbed. But this area, those things, they're a lot smaller. So it's a lot easier to see them not being disturbed. There's a lot more of them, so it's like, how many of them were there that were disturbed? Maybe those are just a handful of preserved bodies out of thousands. And also this area is big on stagnation and everything, like, stopping. And so there would probably be less things moving about to mess with corpses. And so it just makes more sense for the bodies to still be intact here. At least the way I see it. But moving on, this is another one where I think it works well. Because this wasn't... I forgot to roll. I didn't forget to roll, I just rolled too late. I rolled too late. But it's like, this isn't an individual. This was like a species of beings. And this is just one survivor. But I swung when I should have rolled. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. This might kill me. This killed me. Man. One hit from death, too. Tragic. But it's like... Bed of Chaos is gone. It hasn't had its source of fire in a very long time. And so it's ran out of its fire. And so... Like I said, that stuff just makes more sense to me. Of being more of like a species-wide thing and having one survivor. Or one fully intact body. Rather than an individual with a fully intact body. Because it just seems like there would be higher chances since there's more individuals. Ooh. That grab attack comes out very fast. Like, most grab attacks are pretty slow. But that attack right there. Ooh. That was close. That jump attack, I really, really like. Soul of a Stray Demon. Because, as I mentioned in the last part, I've been replaying a lot of Elden Ring recently, And something that I noticed is that a lot of things in Elden Ring stay in the air for a very, very long time. And, like, specifically, something I noticed that boggles the mind is that there are death rate birds. And you may notice that they have this weird word called bird in the name. And, okay. But, man. But where I'm from, birds have this little thing called the ability to fly. Large Titanite. I'm quitting the game. I'm getting that large Titanite shard. But what I've noticed is that a lot of bosses stay in the air more than death rate birds, even though a lot of the bosses aren't birds, whereas death rate birds are birds. And so you'd think that death rate birds would stay in the air longer than most. But it's the exact opposite. Like, to give an example, the Regal Ancestor, they have this attack where they do like they jump into the air and then they like do a double jump and then a triple jump and then they float in the air for a delay and then they slam down. And that has them staying in the air longer than I think any of the death rate birds attacks. And it's just so strange to me that you have beings that aren't birds in the air longer than birds. And then there's like, I'm not fighting you. And then there's Margit. And he'll like spawn his holy great hammer. And then he'll float in the air for that delay. And then there's Horalu, and he's got some jump attacks that have him slow down time, but only for him. And there's just a lot of attacks like that, where the boss will just sit and float in the air for an abnormal amount of time. And Dark Souls 1 also kind of does that with the Stray Demon and the Asylum Demon with their jump attacks. But that jump attack from the Stray Demon there, here in Dark Souls 3, doesn't last nearly as long. It feels a lot more natural. And going straight from Elden Ring, where everything can fly in the air longer than an actual bird, to Dark Souls 3, where things stay in the air a very natural amount of time. That's just very nice.
Ashen is wet. It would.
I skipped that. It's unique dialogue. Sorry, but yeah, we can sell this. But that's just a very nice thing that I noticed about Dark Souls 3. And like I said, that attack specifically, that jump attack from the Stray Demon, it just feels so natural how long they stay in the air. Because it's not an abnormally long amount of time like you see from a lot of enemies in Elden Ring. And I've spent the last 2 parts ragging on Elden Ring.
Ashen.
So, don't get me wrong, I don't think Elden Ring is bad.
Just what?
Yes. We're 1 away. Tragic.
I'd heard one of the Crystal Sages had sided with Farron's Abyss Watchers.
I suppose it must be true. You should know, this coal is imbued with magic. First one I've ever seen. Hardly a surprise, is it? I've never been one for books or wise men.
Sorry, I'm just so used to skipping the dialogue. But that's another Estus.
Prithee, I go.
Alright. But we can burn this as well. Like I said, I've been ragging on Elden Ring a lot in these past two parts, even though it's not an Elden Ring run. But I don't hate Elden Ring. Like I said, if I thought these games were bad, I wouldn't play them. But yeah, 5 levels from Yule, from 20 hollowing, and he'll die, and Yuria will appear.
Oh, prithee, art thou good Yoel's master? I am Yuria of Londor, a close friend of his. Thanks to thee, Yoel's soul is redeemed. Allow me to express my gratitude in his stead. Another matter. Thou'rt a lord, art thou not? Bearer of the dark sigil, and our Lord of Hollows. For the time thou remainst our lord, we of Londor shall serve thee. And I, of course, am also thine. Oh, good Hollow, I'm afraid I must say, Orbeck of Vinheim is a cause of much consternation. He proclaimeth himself Lord of Hollows. If left alone, he may one day imperil thy rule. Fall to this matter yearly, else we are unravelled. Decisiveness is the mark of a true monarch.
But she sells all the things that Yule sold, but also purging stones to get rid of hollowing so you don't look like beef jerky anymore. Poison throwing knives, a Braille Divine Tome to get some forbidden miracles, Dark Hand, which is a fist, and then a ring that makes you not look like beef jerky, and a ring that makes you look like a cooperator. So these two are really good if you're doing co-op and you get invaded.
Till we meet again, may the dark sigil guide thee.
Yeah, like I said, I don't hate these games. I don't even think they're bad. Like I said, if I thought they were bad, I wouldn't play them. I just think that it's important to not let bias blind you to flaws in a game. And I think that it's important to critique these games. And I think it's important to critique things that you love in general, because you want them to be better. But anyways, Orbeck.
Back again, I see. I suppose this means you're after sorceries.
So he gives 11 here.
Oh my. This is stupendous. Then the undead legion of Farron possesses sorceries quite unknown. Thank you for upholding your end of the bargain. I doubt I ever would have made this discovery alone. Now, let us unravel the thing, so you may put these new sorceries to use.
And that gives you 3 new sorceries. So, I know Pestilent Mist is new. And then Farron Hail, I believe, is new. And then Farron Great Dart? Question mark. And there's 4 of these that you need for a ring. I believe it's Farron Flash Sword, Pestilent Mist, Oral Decoy, and Spook. I believe.
It is folly to claim lives recklessly, friend. Do not be tempted. No matter the victim's stature, every killing has a consequence. Even as I bloodied my hands, I never realized this simple truth. There I was, the very definition of a fool. Ah, I have something for you. You're a fine sorcerer now, no mistake. You should have something to prove it. Go on. If I'm giving something away, you'd better well take it.
So, I believe he gives this to you upon buying any sorcery.
How do you like gimmicks, friend? This is a sign, a cipher, employed by sorcerers who use quietude to their advantage. With this, you can be sure to tell friend from foe from your very first encounter. It's a very old practice at this point, but one that you deserve to know.
And that is correct. Farron Flash Sword, Spook, Oral Decoy, and Pestilent Mist. And you get the Slumbering Dragon Crest Ring, which is very, very good.
Oh my. Well, this is very unusual. It's from Ulasil, an ancient land of golden sorceries. Not even the Dragon School possesses such a long-lost scroll. What would the Xanthus scholars say with their ridiculous headwear? They would simply slaver over this find.
Alright, so that gets you Cast Light, Repair, Hidden Weapon, Hidden Body, and Twisted Wall of Light. Which, Cast Light and Repair, pretty neat.
Promise to stay safe.
But yeah, we got those. Slumbering Dragon Crest Ring is very good, so I can throw that on. And we can get rid of this because I'm not going to be using sorceries this run. We can get rid of these because I'm not going to be using sorceries this run. I just got it for the ring.
Ashen 1.
Right.
Well, very then hey.
Oh, just barely enough for 3 levels. You'll love to see it. And yeah, we've gotten to the point where we're getting 2 points of damage per level, which is very nice.
Farewell, Ashen One. May the
But do you have anything to say?
At the foot of Lothric Castle, it was used if...
Oh, so that's just him telling you to go to Cathedral the Deep.
You haven't given up yet. Then you're a brasher lad than I thought. You can make better use of this. I don't need it. Not now I've flown the coop. The Undead Legion of Farron is a caravan of undead, sworn by wolf's blood to contain the abyss. The Legion will bury a kingdom at the first sign of exposure. Joyous bunch, really. Gaining admission to the Legion is a matter of some ceremony. Inside their keep, snuffing out the flames of 3 altars opens the door to the wolf blood. Even accursed undead want to believe they're special, it seems. I pity the sorry souls.
And that's what we did to this part in Farron Keep. But as much as I'd like to beat the boss of the area, I don't want to go over an hour. And besides, we finished that part of Yul's quest. We met a new NPC. We got 2 sorcery things. Sorcery scrolls for Mr. Sorcery Man down there. We got a new ring that lets us walk silently. And we went through most of an area. There's still a tiny bit to go, but we went through most of an area, beating a mini boss. So I think that's pretty good progress. And yeah.